All right, guys, thanks for tuning into this video. I'm going to do something a little different today, in that I usually talk about sales or things that I have online that I'm selling, or things that I'm listing, or things that I got, or I'll do thrift runs. But for today, I'm going to do something I haven't done before, and I'm going to share with you my spreadsheet and show you how I track sales, how I track active listings, how I track my numbers and measure. Obviously, if you are a seller and you aren't measuring your success or failures, then you're going to have a hard time knowing whether you're actually growing or not. eBay does give you some of these tools in your seller dashboard and your seller central, and I do look at those from time to time as far as SEO and things like that. But these numbers that I've put into my spreadsheet and the way I've created it has really helped me read and understand my business and where it is, and I can track from year to year or month to month how things are doing. You don't have to necessarily be a numbers person to have a spreadsheet like this. I know I personally love numbers. I love measuring. I love analyzing and just pouring over data. So it's not something I want to do full time, but I enjoy measuring my success with this store. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now and show you exactly how I set up my spreadsheet so that I can monitor where my store is and how I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. All right, so let's do this. Just make sure, okay. So this is the spreadsheet that I have. As you can see here up at the top, I have a bunch of tabs. So when I started my business, August of 2016, this is what I used. This tab right here is what I used for the business to measure my sales. So I won't get into all these numbers, but as you can see, I've got 2016, 17, 18, just finished up 19, and now I've got 2020. So I'm just going to go ahead real quick and share with you what I'm looking at and just kind of help give you an idea. Remember, everyone has, there's no one right way to do this, and everyone has ways that make their business successful and things that they do that work with their personality and work with what they've been doing to really help them be successful. And so just know that you don't have to set it up this way exactly. You can kind of cater it to how you want to do it. Hopefully this gives you some ideas on how you can. So maybe you can take a few of these ideas that you like from mine. Feel free to use it. I will say that this spreadsheet that I have in front of you, I actually met with a friend, the Book Flipper. So if you know the Book Flipper, he lives in Colorado as well. And as I was starting this business, he created a very basic spreadsheet for me. He's a very intelligent guy, but you know, in the 1 hour or 2 hour discussion we had, he just did a quick spreadsheet that helped me track some things, and then I took all that information that he did and I tweaked it and built out all these tabs and all these spreadsheets to kind of measure what I want to see. And so this started with Caleb Roth, the Book Flipper, and now what you see is kind of what I've made it into. So I got to give credit to him for helping me get this going. And then hopefully I can inspire you as well to do something like this. I'm not going to show you exactly how I created it. I'm only going to show you what data I'm collecting and what I'm measuring. So tune in here and look at this first tab. You can see that it says eBay active. So as the name implies, these are all my active listings that I have on eBay. Now I've taken this spreadsheet and I have changed it each year around New Year's when I create the spreadsheet for the next year, or the next tab, I guess, for that year. I go and I kind of tweak the things that I don't like or the things that I don't really want to measure anymore. So I did have a few extra tabs at one point. I had some tabs telling me, I had a list of all the stores that I shop at, and I could see really quickly all the margin that I was getting per item at each store. So I knew what stores were better stores for me to shop at. And I also had categories, and that would tell me what specific categories of items were bringing in the most money. So always at the top would be like men's shoes, coats and jackets, things like that. And so for a while, probably a year and a half to 2 years, I was recording all this data, and then I started to get to where I was like, you know what, I know this now, it's in my head, so I no longer need to capture it, so I deleted all that information. But you know, after a while, after you've been doing it, you start to figure out rhythms. And so I will say you can measure whatever data you want. And I don't want to bore you with all the details of what I'm collecting here, but I do want to show you exactly what I'm doing. So with this first tab, so this is all one spreadsheet, do not delete. I've got this saved on my computer. I've also got it saved on Google Drive. And let's say that I'm at the storage unit. If I can't find an item, I can pull this up in Google Drive and take a look at it real quick and get this bin number that is telling me where that item is located. So I did have a time where I thought I deleted it. I went through my computer and I was deleting a bunch of old stuff, and I accidentally deleted it, and I had to go to Google Drive to find it. And so I wanted to make sure I do not delete this, because this is pretty much all the numbers for my business. I will say that, you know, eBay does this for me, or not eBay. I have a GoDaddy bookkeeping account, $10 a month. That's the account that I use to pull in every single cent, and then I calculate my taxes, what I owe from that, and I give all those numbers to my accountant. So I will say, for official legal purposes, I use GoDaddy bookkeeping. You would probably totally be fine using that if you're not a numbers person or spreadsheets intimidate you. But I use that for the exact precise dollar amounts down to the penny on expenses, income, categories, things like that. But the spreadsheet that I'm going to show you right now is really more focused on pulling, like I said, the data that I want to see, so that I can measure what I want to see in my business. And so I don't have to go to GoDaddy bookkeeping each day or week or whatever to get a quick snapshot of whether I'm growing, how I'm trending for that month or year or whatever. So lo and behold, let's just start with this first tab. And I'm not going to go through all these tabs. I probably won't go through half of these. I'm going to give you about 3 to 5 of these tabs that really help me, that I look at on a daily basis. Obviously, I'm not going to look at 2016 and 19 because it's pretty much a repeat of 2020, except it's catered to that year's numbers. If this is a lot of jargon for you, I apologize in advance. I'm going to try and make this as simple as possible in explaining exactly what I do. So, yeah, it's too small. Let's go ahead and make that bigger. So here's what I do with new things that I'm listing on eBay. And as you can see, I've got the column titles, list date. So this begins May 23rd of 2018. That's my oldest item. I've got the item description. So you'll see women's Basque hiking boots. So I usually do men's or women's, followed by the brand, what it is, size, and then color. And then if it's new, I would put like new out to the side. It's 1 unit, and then it's in bin A7. And here's what I paid the cost. So here's what I paid to get that item, $5.91. So $5.91 to get these boots that I'll probably sell for $30 to $35. And if you scroll down, everything is consistent. Notes, typically, like if I have, I mean, it's not really important for you, but if I have something that maybe is out of my personal closet or my wife's, and instead of giving that money to the business, I give it to either myself or my wife when it sells, I'll put our names out here to the side. And then obviously, I mean, not so obviously to you, but for me, if something is something that I sold, had to take a return back on it and relisted it, I will write out to the side, relist. So every item in here has, I always put the date that I listed it. So this begins again in May of 2018. And as you can see, as I sell these items, they will be taken off this spreadsheet and moved to 2020, which is the sales side of my spreadsheet. So as you can see here, you know, if you just go through, I've got You know, I would love to sell these things because these at the top are the oldest. And then you go through here and you've got, once you get to, since it started in 2018, once you get to January, we're now in 2019. And then if you keep going to the next January, obviously those are the most recent, which would be 2020, this last January. So just looking at, I'll just show you the end here. So because of the coronavirus, I haven't been able to list anything since, let's see, 3/25. So March 25th was the last day I listed something. Everything after that, 3/26 to 4/7, are items that have been returned and relisted on eBay. So as you can see, I've got 1,498 items actively listed on my eBay account. Now that is not necessarily listings, but quantities. So there may be eBay listings where I have 2 or 3 of something. So roughly close to 1,500 items as I make this video of things that are on eBay. And I can come through here and, you know, find something really quickly. So I'll pull up eBay as well, just because I want to show you what I do when something sells. So I've shown you exactly when I list something. So, you know, let's say I was going to create a new listing today and I was going to do 10 more listings. I would, hang on. I would come in here and put the date, which is the 10th. You know, now as you can see, I've got like W is women's, M is men's. So it's going to do a men's, Banana Republic, button down shirt, XL, blue, striped, and let's say it was new. That's how I would do it. That's exactly how I would type it up. 1 unit, and let's say it was going into, sorry, I hope that wasn't, my microphone just fell off. I hope that wasn't too loud for you. Let's say it's going into E6. Let's say I paid $7.50 for it. And that's exactly how I would enter it if I were listing this item new. So I'm going to take that out. Now let's look at eBay. And I don't have anything because I just shipped all the items that sold today. But let's go into paid and shipped. And I'll show you what happens when an item sells. So in the listing SKU, so the custom SKU of every listing that I have, I've got, so you can see this is the most recent item that I sold, Puma golf pants. And in the custom label, the custom SKU field, I put D1, which is the bin location, and then the date that I listed it. So it's found in D1 and I listed it on 12/19/2019. So I do that for 2 reasons. One, when I use the eBay mobile app and I go to the storage unit, it shows, I can just click in it, open it up, and it will show me D1. That's where I would find those pair of pants. It's a quick process that takes me a matter of like 30 seconds to find each item because I've got it so organized in the listing and on the spreadsheet. This date right here really just tells me when I listed it so I can keep an idea by looking at the eBay listings. I can see kind of a quick snapshot of what items are really old. And let's say I get an offer on an item that is 2 years old. In my mind, I would be willing to take less because it's older. So that just helps me. Sometimes I look at that custom SKU when I'm accepting or rejecting offers to see how negotiable I want to be. If it's a brand new item, I'm not going to take a low offer on it. Okay, so I think that's enough. The only other thing I will show you on this spreadsheet, at the very bottom, I've got average cost per item sourced. So I've got 1,706 total items. So like I said before, I've got multi-quantities on eBay that may not be populating. And then in the spreadsheet, or they are, but they're just organized differently. And among those 1,706 items, I average $7.48 to buy each item. Now, some of you may be saying, whoa, that's a lot to average per item of cost. Maybe you average $3, $4, $5, but I will say I have some really good spots here in Denver that I get brand new things at. And so that pushes that price up quite a bit because you're going to pay a little more to get something new with tags than if you're getting it used or say if you're getting it at garage sales. All right, so that's the first tab. That's how I organize all of my active listings when they go fresh onto eBay. Let's jump over to this next tab. So I'm going to scroll down here towards the bottom, and what you'll see is you'll see the month. This isn't really more for me, it's more for this analytics spreadsheet because it's using this column to pull all of that month's sales. So obviously we're in month 4 in April of 2020. So month 4, this is the date that it sold, pretty straightforward. And then right here, this is for me to calculate how, on average, how long is it taking each item to sell. So for this particular item, men's Under Armour gray board shorts, size 29, they took 5.5 months to sell. You can see the item description. Unit is 1. This is the bin location where I will find it in my storage unit. Quick, easy pull. Here is the sales price, the price that I sold it for on eBay, including shipping. I don't include taxes because I don't get to keep the taxes. So it's just, and I do free shipping on all my items. But if I did charge for shipping, I would just calculate that into the sales price. So that's total price to ship and to purchase. Cost, this is obviously how much I paid for that item, so $9.35. Now I will say this, a used pair of gray Under Armour board shorts, I didn't pay $9 for. I probably paid $2 to $3 or $4. But what I do is instead of keeping track of each individual item, let's say I bought 10 things at a thrift store for 50 bucks, I would just take the average, which would be $5 per item. So in this $9.35, there are obviously items that I paid probably $15 to $20 for, and there are items that I paid $3 to $3.50 for, but the average for that haul was $9.35. So I don't want you to think that I'm paying $9 for a pair of board shorts. I just, in order to save time, I just calculate the average cost per item for that haul. So I hope that's not confusing, but $9.35. This is the price that I paid to ship. So the USPS fee, or I mean, most of the items I do are USPS, but if I did FedEx, whatever I did, this is the cost to ship it. I don't have any items on Amazon currently, but if I did and I sold and I had an FBA fee, it would go in here. And then I've got my eBay fees. So I've got this set to calculate 9.15% of every sale. Now that is the selling fee for a top rated seller with a store who's selling clothing. 99% of the items I sell are clothing. Occasionally I'll sell, something else, but I have it set up to just calculate 9.15% of every transaction. So it's slightly off, but for the most part, if 99.9% of my items are clothing, it's going to be 99.9% accurate. So this cost of goods, so on this Under Armour, you can see it's totaling the price I paid to get it, the price I paid to ship it, and the eBay selling fees. This particular item cost me $17.60 to sell this, to acquire and sell it. I sold it for $23 and I made $5.40 on this item. That's not too great. That's my goal. I'm not trying to, I would say that's definitely less by half of what I'm trying to get per item. Ideally, a minimum of $10 per item is what I want. And if you look up here, you see $11.48, $15.96, $16.84, $12.68, $8.21. So some of these items you can see on this vintage Nautica shirt. It was one from 13 months ago. I took a loss of $3.30. I thought, I tried my hand at vintage t-shirts and I just didn't do well. So that was an item I just wanted to get out of. So I sold it for 10 bucks. But some of these items are items that I'm just like, you know what, I'm not selling this anymore. Let's just get rid of it, and I will take less. So occasionally I will get these $5 margins, $6 margins, but I focus on $10 and up per item. Really, ultimately, minimum of $10, but I would say as of lately, I'm trying to push that closer to $15 an item. So back to the spreadsheet, and so these are all the sales that I have, and here's all the margin that I have for these items. Going back to, obviously, this is January of 2020, so from the start of this year, I've calculated every sale that I've made. So that's what that looks like. And again, I'm hoping this is not too confusing, that it makes sense for you. So between this spreadsheet, sorry, not that spreadsheet. Regarding this spreadsheet, 2020, and let me just show you this real quick. Let's say I got this set up. You can see I've got the columns. You probably are wondering, why do I have this E column in here? And it's because it coincides with this spreadsheet. So let's just say that I were to sell these women's Basque hiking boots today. I'm going to come in here, and I've got it to where I can just copy that whole column. I can come down here, and let's say it took me 15 months to sell, and then I can paste it, and it pastes in all this information into this form of the spreadsheet. And then let's just say I sold these for $40, and once I hit enter, watch this column, you'll see it automatically calculates my eBay fees. Let's say it costs $9.69 to ship, and on that pair I would have made $19.41 had I sold those today for $40, considering that it costs $9.69 to ship. Okay, so excuse me. That's why I have this spreadsheet set up to where I can just copy and paste into these next tabs. So those are the first two tabs that I have. These last few, it won't take as long to explain because it's more just measuring the data. This next tab is my favorite because this is where you see, this is where you measure your business. Now, obviously, you guys can see my numbers. These aren't 100% precise because they're not taking into account everything. But for the sake of keeping it consistent from the day that I started, in order to measure the exact same thing 4 years later, these are my numbers and how I can look at this obviously every day if I want. I don't, but and find exactly my numbers for this business. So just keep in mind, these aren't 100%, but I've kept it consistent with when I started, which was August of 16. So rather than go through each of these years, I'm just going to go through what I have in 2020. Keep in mind, March and actually the last half of February up until now has been slow. So this isn't a typical year, especially with the virus going on. The coronavirus numbers have been down. As I shared on my last video, my wife and I are moving. And so I really haven't, even 2 weeks before the virus hit and things shut down, I stopped acquiring inventory because I'm trying to sell off a bunch of my stuff, especially the old stuff. So, you know, if I had kept building this and I could keep growing the business, this would be higher. But for right now, it is what it is. So, so when I sell something from when I plug in data into this spreadsheet, it comes into the analytics spreadsheet. So these are all, you can see right here, this formula that I have, but it's all geared and built to pull in the data from here. So I'll just go over the columns real quick and just show you what I'm measuring in my business. So you can see this is for 2020. I've got all the months. You can see how many days are in each month. That's going to be used to calculate things like units sold per day. But here are my sales. So for January, I made $9,854.58. I will say that when I get a return, I do this kind of unorthodoxly, but I delete it out of the sales order. So my sales are actually higher, accounting for, you know, I honestly could say my sales were probably $10,300 and I had probably $400 or $500 in returns, but this is just the way I do it. So $9,854 were my sales for January. I sold 316 units for an average of a little over 10 units per day. That gives me a sales price of $31.19, which was my average sales price for January of 2020. Here is the total of the cost of goods, and the total, and remember, this is just the items that I sold. The cost of goods per unit, so $8.64. These two columns right here, I've considered deleting out of this tab just because I don't really look at them. And this used to be a lot bigger of a spreadsheet, and I used to measure a lot more data, but I don't know why I still have these in here. I don't really use them. Profit on this $9,854 in sales was $3,863 for an average of $12.23 per item. So slightly lower than what my goal is. My profit per day is $124. So if I'm looking at how much money am I making in my business for me to use like for salary and things like that, I'm making $124 a day. And my ROI, so if I spend, well, I'll just say this, my ROI for January of 2020 was 142%, which means for every dollar that I spent, I brought in $1.42 in profit. So if I take, basically it's as good as saying if I go to a thrift store and I spend $1, I will get back $1.42 in profit. Not sales. So that's kind of how I calculate that. Again, my numbers are slightly down. These are less than what I typically, my goal is, but just being vulnerable and honest with you here on where I am as of now. This column is only for the top rated seller status. You get a credit at the end of every month for like a percentage back of your selling fees. I had lost my top rated seller status, and so I didn't get anything for January, but you can see I picked it back up in February and March, and I should get it again in April. So it just, you know, whenever I get it, I plug it in here and it gets added into this number, profit. This column right here is units listed for this month. So I listed 174 items for January, 228 for February, 81 for March. Now remember, I was building, and then we decided we were moving, so I slowed down to a halt, and I didn't list anything for March, and I haven't listed anything for April. This column is one that I look at quite a bit. This is average months to sell. So on average, if you remember, I put in right here the amount of months that it takes to sell an item. And I didn't explain this, but if you see a 0, that means I sold an item within the first 13 days of the month. So these cool brown pants, I listed them and I sold them within 13 days for a price of $30. So what happens is all these numbers kind of get pulled into this column, and I get a quick snapshot of how long it takes to sell an item. So for January, my average was 5.6 months. Now, I will say that's longer than I want to be. I would want to get most items sold within 3 months. The longer you sit on something, the more it goes down in value and the less chance you have of selling it later on for more money. And as you can see, for the whole year of 2019, I averaged 4.7 months. For 2018, I averaged 3.1, and that's the first year I started calculating that. So for 2018, I averaged 3 months, and it's slowly been going up, and now I'm probably averaging about 6 months. I have a lot of inventory that I'm no longer purchasing at thrift stores. So there are items that I would have bought for my business probably a year ago that I no longer would buy. And I'm trying to get rid of those because they sit longer. So I'm selling off some of those things. And as you can see, when I sell something that's 13 and a half months old, 11 and a half months old, 16 months, 11, all these high numbers, 14 and a half, that's a year, 1 year, 2 months, and 2 weeks to sell. So all those large numbers are getting factored into here because I'm really trying to sell off old inventory. And that's what's driving these numbers up. I'm hoping that By the time we move, I will sell off all my old inventory and I can really just focus on the stuff that moves fast, and this number will come back down by the end of the year. This number here, so that's that column, average months to sell. This column is the inventory that I have at the end of the month. So at the end of January, I had 1,700 items. At the end of February, 1,670, and it's slowly decreasing because, like I said, I'm selling off everything, or trying to. Sell-through rate, this is how many items I sold divided by the inventory that I had when I started. So I sold 316 items in January, and I had, well, I can tell you, 1950 is where I ended December. So going into January of 2020, I had 1950, and that's going to calculate that I sold 16% of my inventory for the month of January. And then per day, that's 0.5%. Now, why do I care about these numbers? Some of you may not, and that's okay. You don't necessarily need to, but if you know what the formula is for your business, so if I know I'm selling off roughly 15 to 16, and if you look up here, I've got some months, 20, 21, looks like 21 was my highest month. There's a 22. So a month where I sold 22% of my inventory, but let's say roughly I'm selling 20% of my inventory every month. If you know this number, then you know roughly what your sales are going to be. So if I know that I'm selling 22% of my inventory, and let's say I have 1,478 items and an average sales price of $27, I can basically calculate all of that to figure out how much I'm going to make each month. Now, I don't sit around and do this. That would be boring. But basically, the idea behind this is the more you list, the more you sell. So if you sell 20% of your inventory, if you have 1,000 items and you sell 20% in 1 month, that means you sold 200 items. If you double that, and if you have 2,000 items in your store and you sell 20% every month, then obviously you're going to double the amount of items that you sell, which would be 400 items. Now, you can definitely do things to make this number higher. You can lower your prices, you can take better photos, you can do bulk edits and kind of help push items out. You kind of have to know your business. Some people want a 33% sell-through rate, and I would love to get that high, but I'm not willing to sacrifice price. So know your business, know what you want this number to be. And for me, if I could get this consistently 20 to 30%, I'd be okay with that. Right now, it's a little low just because this year has been slower with the virus. And then sell-through rate. And then the last column here is grow or decline. So this is taking the amount of total units listed, and I'll just click on this and you can see it's taking total units listed minus what I sold, and you'll see that my business inventory declined by 142 units for the month of January of this year. And then 30 for the next month, 142, and then 50. Again, because I'm trying to liquidate my stuff and have less to move to Arkansas. So far this year, I have gotten rid of 364 extra items on top of what I have listed in my inventory. So that is this spreadsheet. I'm going to look at 2019 because 2019, I'll just kind of show you what I'm looking at when I'm going to actually go back to 2016. When usually the numbers that I compare are in these boxes here. So in the bold, or sorry, the boxed in outline, sales total for 2016, again, 4 months of 2016 is 5,800. Then it jumped to 3,100, or sorry, 31,000. And then it jumped to 70,000, and then for 2019, I did 127,000 in sales. I'm not going to hit that this year unless I have some kind of, unless I just get crazy towards the last half. But the way this first half has started off, it's going to be slower. And I'm okay with that. Eventually, I will get to where I'm making more than that. So I look at sales, and then I look at average sales price. When I started, I was averaging $26.58 per item. That was good for then, but now I've refined my ways. I know what I'm looking for. I've gotten a lot more intelligent with purchasing. And as you can see, sales price for 2017 went up to $27. 2018, $27.62. 2019, $30.19 average. And so far for 2020, I'm averaging $31.27. So I really want this to be a minimum of $30 going forward, but obviously I want to keep pushing that up closer to 35. I look at those two things, and then I look at profit. 2016, I made $2,000. 2017, $13,000. 2018, $30,000. And 2019, I made $56,000. There are a few numbers that are not taken into consideration. So if I promoted listings, those numbers don't populate into here. So these aren't as, I really didn't make $56,000. I made less than that, but it's not horribly less than that. It's just slightly less. So I've gone over sales and sales price, and then I look at profit per unit. When I started, I was making $9.74. Again, that was good for then, but I wanted to slowly grow, and I've done that. So now 2017, $11.69. 2018, $12.17. 2019, I'm making $13.40 an item. 2020, I need some help. I'm only making $12.69 an item right now. But again, a lot of that is due to selling off these older things where I'm not getting as much money on. So as I sell off old inventory, I don't make as much money, and this number comes down. And then the last column that I'll show you that's really pertinent to what I look for, again, is in this box. ROI, 136. So again, if I gave you that same example, in 2016, if I spent $1, I made $1.36 in profit. In 2017, $1 turned into $1.66 in profit. 2018, $1 turned into $1.77 in profit. And very similar in 2019, $1 turned into $1.75 in profit. Now 144 is low, but again, same theme here. Everything is low in 2020 due to a couple of huge factors, personally and globally. So I have this set up to where all of these sales numbers from 2020 populate into this one. So I know this is really heady, and if you're not a numbers person, you've probably already tuned out by now. That's okay. I really want to inspire those that are kind of looking for creative ways to build a spreadsheet to measure your business. Business account is really just, I balance my checkbook here. I'm not going to show you that just because I don't think you need to see how much money I have. I don't have a lot, I will tell you that, but it's basically I check every few days with my bank account, make sure that like when taxes are paid or when I give myself a salary or things like that, I am balancing that with online, so I have an idea of how much actual cash I have in the bank. Again, I could, obviously, I look at my app, I know how much money I have through my Chase app, but I love numbers, and so why not build out spreadsheets? Here's something that I did, this donations tab. I donated about, let's see here, 108 items to a thrift store, and I took the cost to acquire that item or what I would sell it for as well. And I took the value of that item as a tax deductible, I guess. I won't be able to take it until the end of the year on my 2020 taxes because I donated this at the end of January. But I have this spreadsheet just to kind of prove that all these items were items that I did donate. They were old inventory, and I was trying to freshen up my store. So about 108 items there. The rest of this I'm not really going to go into because I don't, like I said before, these 4 tabs are really just the same thing as 2020. It's just more specific to that year, which you've already seen in this spreadsheet here. And then monthly report, this just, I pull these numbers from GoDaddy. I take all of my expenses, my income, my profit, and I put it in here. And I'm not going to really explain it to you just because it's not really that exciting. But I will say I am not a legal tax expert. I can't really give you advice on taxes. I mean, I do know a little bit about taxes, but I can't give you paid professional advice. So therefore, I don't want to focus on that. But I have an accountant. If you don't, I definitely would suggest that you get one. And you can also get a GoDaddy account, which pulls in all your transactions and will help give you a snapshot of your numbers if numbers do intimidate you. And a lot of people, they do, so don't feel bad if they do. But I do hope that this spreadsheet was beneficial for you. And I really do hope that it kind of inspired you in a way as to how I keep track of my business numbers-wise. And hopefully you got a nugget or two in there that, something you can measure or something that you can start tracking in order to best view and get the progress of your business. So I do want to say thanks a lot for tuning in, and if you've stuck with me this far, then you weren't too bored by all that numbers talk. I will say that if you're not subscribed to my channel, click the link below to get more videos where I'm honestly just real with you on the ins and outs every day of my business. I give you stuff like this, but also just a wide range of things that I'm learning because I want to pass it down to you and help you grow your business. If you do like this video and you feel like it was beneficial to you, will you do me a favor and give it a thumbs up? That really helps this to get seen by more people so that they can be helped as well. And then lastly, I do want to say, for the time being, we are in Denver for probably another 4 to 8 weeks until we move to Arkansas. I have my address in the description of each of these videos. If you'd like to write me, just letting me know, one, if there's a video that has impacted you and helped you in your business, or two, just in general, if you want to reach out and say anything, I'd love to hear from you. So please send me a postcard or a letter or something to that address, and I will definitely do a shout out on a future YouTube video where I will read your note. I guess unless you ask me not to, but I'll read your note and shout out you. So I'd love to hear from you. Please send me something. That would be amazing. And then I said that was the last, but I just thought of this. And also in the description of each of these videos, I have links to all the supplies that I use for my business, from lighting to like stain removers to tape, you name it, I've got it. The scale. I've also got all the equipment that I use for my YouTube channel. So from the camera to the lighting to just everything that I use. It's all down there. You can click it, and it will take you to Amazon where you can purchase if you're looking for tools to help you in your business. Guys, I just want to say thanks so much. This is the first time I've done a video like this all in one take where I haven't really edited it, but it was more of a numbers video anyways. So I hope that it helps you out. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. I hope that you're able to figure out creative ways for your business in this crazy, bizarre time of coronavirus. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here, and I'll see you on another video. Bye.